Maddie's freshman year. It was the end of Maddie's last Friday of her freshman year. Granted, it wasn't the last day of school. During dinner that evening, her mother approached her with a question. "Darling, how was your day?" Maddie responded the only way she knew how, through epic poetry. "Ladies and gentlemen," Maddie says, although no one else was in the room, "let me begin from the beginning." Oh, and as she entered, the first thing to capture her attention was the two jocks, standing or more like hovering before her. And at the corner of her eye were goddesses, blue eyes like the ocean and hair as fair as gold. They dressed like the celebrities at the front row of a fashion show, and they were tall, something that I was not. Tall like the Scandinavian woman of Norse legend. But the weirdest thing was that none of them were making any eye contact. They looked down at their phones like slaves of an intangible being. Throughout the day I couldn't help but think about all the things that I wish I was and what tomorrow had for me. Lunch. I must say, Mother, lunch was my favorite affair. A place where I could slow down the pace of my day and congregate with my favorite human beings. First, there was Sarah, the lumpy space princess. Then Ginger, plain. Thirdly, Gus, the human animale. And finally, Maddie, maestro of crafts. Lunch was a beautiful thing. Science was never an easy A for me. It wasn't the kids or the teacher. Even though she had her clenching fist days with Peppermint Patty. But it was rather what we learned. Not that Peppermint Patty was a bad teacher, but it was Pep's method of teaching. Peps would attempt to teach us about momentum one day. The next day we would listen to charming animals that would stare into your soul, attempting to make scientific notation fun. Sometimes her friends would gather around to complain about Pep's distasteful flaws, and most of the time she would agree. But late at night she would study. If something was incorrect, she would study. Even though she hated looking at her mistakes, she would study.